Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another video. So in today's video we are going to be doing the exterior and interior of the new Reflection of China temple that we got in the premium shop. Now if you haven't bought this yet or seen my live stream from Wednesday reset yesterday, I did show you guys that this temple only has one room inside, and I know a lot of people were maybe a bit confused about this, but as it was like a bundle and it was much cheaper than the usual house skins, I think that's why they went for the one room, so you could kind of decorate it like a temple, which is kind of what I'd planned to do with this house skin anyway. So doing it in one room actually made my life a little bit easier, but I wanted to design this area that I had already with Mulan's house and the Turning Red temple, and I will add to this in the future and change it, as there's probably going to be some other house skins coming that are going to work in here. But for now I thought I'd decorate it and show you how I designed it, so let's get started. Now to start off in here, I started in this back section of the forest, which is where I wanted to have this area, and I placed out a bunch of the furniture items I knew I'd be using. I knew I was going to use a lot of the new Mulan items, and actually decided in this space on the right to make a training camp. Now as we go forward and we get more like traditional style houses, I'll probably end up removing the training camp entirely, purely just because it's not something I see myself having long term. I wanted to do a build with it just to see if I could do it and how it would look and my own interpretation of it, but I know it's probably not something that will stay in my valley forever, purely just because I'm not a huge fan of the look of it, and I just don't have enough space for all the house skins we're probably going to get for this area. But for now I wanted to create a training camp on the right, so I started by adding in some of both the Scrooge and Star Path tents, as well as the fence panels from Scrooge's and the wooden arches, and then I started dotting in all the different Mulan items I had, which are a combination of Scrooge's, Star Path and Premium Shop. Now as this training camp area ended up being quite small for all the furniture I wanted to include in here, the tents are pretty big and a lot of the items kind of are difficult to fit in spaces, I did have to move things around a lot of times, so you will see me go back and forth and change it completely multiple times, just because I wanted to ensure I could include all the things I wanted to and all the different areas that I could have in the layout. So you will see that at some point, but it allowed me to kind of make sure I could fit in the majority of the things that I wanted to be in there. Now for this whole area I decided to go with a very kind of rustic natural look. I wanted it to look very traditional and not too built up, so I did also make a lot of craftable items, and I used candlelight for a lot of the lighting in here. I kind of went for more simple lighting just so it did look a little bit more rustic, a bit old school, and obviously had that traditional feel. So I added in the last few things about and kind of made sure I had all the craftables I needed before finishing up and adding in the last few bits around the whole biome. placed in the last few bits of furniture, I went in and added some of the craftable fence that we got in the Mulan update. It's this really like short wooden fence. I absolutely love using this. I've used it in lots of my biomes already. I think it's just such a cute little wall fence. So I added that by Mulan's house and also by the Turning Red house just as a little feature. And then I went in and added in the pathway. I used the unbordered Ancient's Landing pathway. I love using this one. I've used it so much in Eternity Isle, and I've also used it previously in some of my biomes. I just love the look of being able to see the grass through like the cobbled pebbles. It makes it look really rustic, really natural, and that's kind of the look I tend to go for in my valley, and obviously for this area that was definitely the look I was going for. So I decided to go with that, and I dotted it all through to lead to all the main buildings, as well as having a pathway going through the training camp and to all the different exit points in here, as there is quite a lot of exit points in this biome. The one behind the temple is actually blocked, but I can get to it through the trees, same as getting to like the rock spots and stuff like that, which you'll see later. But I do have it slightly blocked just because I already have multiple entrances up to Frosted Heights. I don't really use that one very often, and I don't really mind losing one. So I cut that off and finished off the pathway before going in and making sure everything was where I wanted it to be. And then after that, I went in and obviously added a lot of trees. Now in this area, I knew I was going to use a lot of the cherry blossom trees and a lot of the new green trees, as obviously they are from the Mulan realm, and they just obviously make complete sense in here. So I definitely wanted you to be able to see that kind of like pink glow as you're coming up to this area of the forest, but I also wanted to include a lot of trees that would complement these colours. So I used a lot of the big Ancient's Landing trees as well as some of the red maples, just to kind of offset all the colours and give it this really nice kind of traditional rustic vibe. And I wanted it to feel very overgrown behind the buildings, especially behind the big temple, so I did add in a lot of trees in different heights to give it that kind of layered effect, but also to kind of cover a lot of the spaces that were a little bit gappy. But also the smaller trees in the front of the pink and green variety were really, really good to kind of add into those smaller, tighter spaces where I couldn't really fit too much. Once I'd done that, I went in obviously with the foliage, and I wanted to go for some kind of like foresty colours in here, so lots of greens. I did add a pop of colour with some of the sunlit bushes that are that orange and red colour to kind of complement the trees, but also added in a couple of the Eternity Isle plants, especially like that really gorgeous pink one, to obviously complement the trees and just give it this kind of magical look. But I did want to keep it mainly greens to obviously fit with the forest itself, but have those little pops of colour hidden to match the really colourful, beautiful buildings that are obviously around here. well as that, I added in a bunch of rocks in this biome. I do some now and then add some later, but I made a little rock path up to Elsa's cave just so it is still accessible. It's kind of a tucked away area now that I've surrounded it with trees, but I obviously still wanted to make it accessible, and I then obviously added in some of the smaller rock pieces to border the pathway and to kind of add a bit of dimension. I do go in later, as you'll see in a bit, and add some of the bigger forest rock spots that actually complement in here really well, and kind of figured out the rest of the foliage around that to make sure I could make it all work, and all those kind of areas looked overgrown but weren't too kind of full and it wasn't overdoing it. To wrap up some of the exterior foliage, I added in a bunch of the meadow grass into the build. I wanted to add the grass into those open spots on the left and the right of the temple to again add to the overgrown feel of the biome, and then I finished off kind of lining the pathways and making sure there were ferns for access points. So I always say this is a good tip if you're someone who wants to line their pathway similarly to how I've done it here. I always use the flat ferns or a plant that you can just walk over to be able to get to those access points. So for example, I've left one so that you can get to Elsa's cave, and I've left one so that you can get to the little hidden temple shrine area on the left of it. I wanted to keep those there so you can always access it and get through to all those points before I added in the last few bushes and plants around the rest of the trees. Now once we'd done the exterior, I then went in and moved on to the interior. Now that obviously this was pretty quick for me because I already knew what I wanted to do in this room for a long time, and it is only one room, so I left it with the pre-decorated walls, floors, and left the pillars on the walls. I just moved them slightly so I could fit in the turning red cherry blossom windows that were from the premium shop. I then added 4 hanging lanterns from Scrooge's store and a couple of the rectangular windows that are also from Scrooge's. Pretty much everything in here is either Starpath, Questline, Scrooge's, or premium shop, so if you don't recognize anything, just let me know down below and we'll see. But I added in some of the new kitchen counters we got from the bundle this week, and actually these work really well. They don't look too odd as a kitchen counter, they kind of work as a nice little table setup. And on top of those, I added in a bunch of little trinkets and statues that go with the movie and just fit perfectly in this room. I then added one of the seating dining table areas from Scrooge's, and then at the back I added some Moana mats and some incense to kind of have you looking forward to this gong and sword area as like your shrine at the front. So this is the final build I will walk you through. So when we enter, we go through the gorgeous archway and lanterns, and all along the path you can see I've added in these stone lights. Now these for some reason don't work at the moment unless you interact with them, which is very odd, but I do still love the look of them. So I've lined the pathways with these, and as you can see straight ahead of us we have got this gorgeous temple. I absolutely love this building. I wasn't sure about it at first, but I've actually really grown to love it, especially at night, which I will show you later on. But if we go to the right, we head into our training camp. So on the left we've got a little cookout area for people to sit and have their meals, some training dummies, and also a kiln and some tools. I added in the big bath that we got from Scrooge's, and I actually also included the Inside Out 2 statue in here. I just felt like it looked really cool to have a statue in the camp, and we don't really have any that kind of have this same metal look, so I actually went for this one because he looks very, very cool in here, and I wasn't sure where to use it. On the other side, we have got the trough and also the map table, as well as a crafting station, and again, just a lot of the different Mulan items we've collected over the last months when we've done quests and things like that. I wanted to include everything in here. Heading out from there, we head to the housing area where I've obviously got Mulan and Mushu's home and the Turning Red premium shop house. I haven't yet decorated this inside, but if you do want to see that, let me know down below. I added a Zen garden with some foliage around it out the front as a centerpiece, and the Turning Red statues outside the front. As we head to the left of the temple, we have our little shrine area. I absolutely love this statue we got from a quest line, and I really wanted to give it a really nice spot that you could really appreciate it. So I put it next to one of the Dreamlight trees, so all the sparkles would fall down it and it would feel very mystical. Outside the front of the temple, I added 2 of the dragons that we got the pieces for from a quest line to kind of introduce you in, and then on the right we obviously have our little rock pathway leading to Elsa's cave, just so I can still access it and it's not blocked, and I feel like it does kind of work in here anyway. It doesn't look too out of place, so I kind of still wanted to keep it highlighted. And for the final bit of this area, we have got just a well and a rustic water pump to show where people are coming at their water, and then the exit out to the Frosted Heights. I obviously added some of the lanterns from the Star Path above the biome. I didn't want to use too many and overcrowd it, but I went for a few just so it does still feel very magic in here before we head into our temple. Now in here, as you can see, this room has such a gorgeous warm glow, and as you come in, you straight away see the mats on the floor and the table in the middle, and the gong and the sword are like the centerpiece at the front of the room. The windows on the wall from the Turning Red bundle in the premium shop, I absolutely love using these whenever I can, and I just feel like they fit perfectly in here. And I also added some of the standing pillars in each 4 corner just to make it feel a lot more regal in here, and obviously use the floor and the walls from the bundle as well. Pretty much everything else in here, like I said, is either from the premium shop, Quest, Scrooge's, all of those things. But that is the final build. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing both the exterior and the interior. As I said, the interior was very minimal, and I just didn't see the point in doing it in its own separate video, because it would have been a like 2-minute video and it would have been absolutely pointless. So I thought I would just pop it in here in case you needed a little bit of inspo of how I did the interior of the temple, but you can make it whatever you want. You don't have to make it a temple, as it is only 1 room. You can kind of just do whatever you want with it, and obviously you can still make it your own house skin as well, and it functions like a normal house skin. But I just really wanted to highlight this area, and I'm absolutely in love with how it looks decorated outside. I did take some shots and some clips of it during the day and also during the night, so you can see what it looks like at nighttime, because this temple has the most gorgeous glow at night, as you can see now, and I just wanted to highlight that in here just so in case you hadn't picked it up yet and you weren't sure how it looked at night. It looks gorgeous. But yeah, I've loved making this build. I've been waiting to do this area for a while. I was putting it off because I know, spoiler, that there are probably going to be some house skins coming that are definitely going to need to go in this area. But as I said at the start, if they do come and I do pick them up, which I most likely will, I will remove the training ground and pop them in there and make this more of like a rustic town. Just because as much as I love how the training ground turned out, it's not really my vibe. The items in here aren't really something I see being in my valley long term. There's a couple of few items in there like the hay piles and some of the like tool sets I feel like are going to really work in a lot of different builds, but in general I'm more than happy to replace this, so at some point that will happen, but we shall see. Let me know down below what you think of the build. Did you pick up this house skin bundle? And if so, what are your thoughts? And let me know what you think of the build itself. I am doing an interior tour of every single premium shop house that I've decorated interiors of. So that will be coming on the channel in the next few days. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you like and subscribe, as it all helps me out so much. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.